I want to play the Warriors. I want to get to the Warriors. Wherever they at, I want to get to them.
Got you. Why the Warriors so much?
I mean, because Draymond talks so much trash. That's pretty much the only reason.
It's the interception and a foul. And Edwards taking exception to Draymond Green.
Draymond's talking to the wrong guy.
A few moments later.
He's upset about it and late getting back defensively. Alexander Walker over to Reed. Finding Edwards, driving. Oh, get out the way!
Right now, the Minnesota Timberwolves are the hottest team in the NBA, having won 7 straight games, including wins versus Boston, Denver, and Golden State twice. And the driving force of Minnesota taking this giant leap as a team has been Ant Edwards, who in his own right has taken a massive leap. As right now Ant is top 10 in scoring, in MVP talks, and debatably a top 10 player. And historically speaking, one of Ant's favorite matchups is versus the Golden State Warriors. And Draymond Green in his elder years, he made the crucial mistake of picking on the 22-year-old, repeatedly taunting him with the phrase, "What are you going to do about it?" Well, Draymond, I'm glad you asked, because it's actually pretty simple. As in the 5 minutes that followed that incident, Ant Edwards had 10 of his team's 17 points, 0 turnovers, shooting 3 of 5 from the field, and a 6-point Minnesota victory. Maybe 2017 Draymond, prime Draymond, could have picked a fight with Ant Edwards. But Draymond at this point being in his mid-late 30s, gray hairs, wobbly knees, this version of Draymond shouldn't be picking fights with Ant Edwards of all people. And for future references, kind of stick to the Dylan Brooks type players who are on your level offensively and not ready to threat to explode for 30 or 40 points. Just some friendly advice. And I think looking around the entire league right now, people are starting to realize Ant Edwards isn't one of those guys to attack or try to intimidate. I mean, last year Butler in Minnesota kind of tried to big dog Ant Edwards and he wasn't having it. And of course, Draymond last night learned that lesson very, very quickly. Now, looking past that game, luckily for us NBA fans, Minnesota and Golden State yet again squared off on Tuesday night. And in this matchup, Steph Curry, he wasn't actually playing. So you know what that means? Draymond, of course, is going to resort to some dirty tactics, Khabib-type chokeholds and nut taps, with the occasional RKO. And unfortunately, Rudy Gobert, he got the bad end of this, getting choked out at midcourt for roughly 30 seconds. And look, I'm sorry to say it, Rudy, but you are unintentionally hilarious. I mean, this dude did nothing wrong. Out of nowhere, Draymond just comes up behind him and chokes him Khabib style. And even funnier than that, Gobert, after the game, called out Draymond for being scared to play without Steph Curry. Absolute madness, hilarity, and what you can expect from a typical Timberwolves vs Golden State matchup. Now, looking at the action on the court, the Warriors, down Klay Thompson, John Draymond Green, and Steph Curry, were surprisingly playing very good and leading for the majority of the game. But once again, Ant Edwards, in the final 5-6 minutes, took over and exploded for 7 points on 50% shooting. And late in the game, once again, made the right play, finding Mike Conley, who shoots 45% from 3, to the dagger bucket. Watching Draymond these 2 games, I actually got secondhand embarrassment, and for a millisecond, kind of felt bad for the guy. As being past his prime, these dirty tactics, empty threats with trash talking, don't really hit the same when Golden State isn't dominating. Now, looking at the actual victors, that being Minnesota, look, there's something going on here. They're becoming very beloved very fast, and their overall team is definitely likable. They're kind of like Memphis was 2 years ago, before Ja had his stuff and Dylan Brooks went AWOL in the playoffs. Minnesota kinda is Memphis 2.0, but actually really likable. And in terms of taking a jump as an entire team, Minnesota this year is the Kings of last year. As there's always one team in the West, one team in the East, that pops out of nowhere and surprises everyone. And Minnesota, unlike many teams with a good record, they beat legit teams. I mean, how many times in the Steph Curry era has he lost twice in a row at home in the same week to the same team? It can't be many. And of course, beating Denver, beating Boston, those were huge victories versus title contenders. And look, I don't want to call Ant Michael Jordan 2.0, Kobe 2.0, or anything like that. But I'll say this. Some players, every once in a while, just have that it factor that you really can't pinpoint. The intangibles, the attitude, the mentality, that for Ant Edwards is cranked up to the max. And this guy right now is playing top 10 level basketball. And if you look across the NBA landscape at the best American-born ball players, for the overall future, it's really him, Tatum, and then Booker a distant third. I mean, Edwards very possibly could be the face of USA basketball. And thank God for Timberwolves fans, because in the post-Kevin Garnett era, yes, they've had first overall picks and great prospects. I mean, Towns, still very solid, a great player, and Wiggins back in the day showed flashes of being great. But Ant Edwards finally, their third first overall pick. This guy not only has reached expectations, but exceeded them drastically. If any fan base, any fan group deserves a championship, it's definitely Timberwolves fans. As even in the Kevin Garnett era, the team's management was awful, and the overall roster was subpar every single season. And looking back at the Golden State Warriors and Draymond, it may be a little controversial to say this, a hot button issue, but I think this game right here kind of exposed the big crack in Golden State, which many blamed on Jordan Poole last season. As their overall heart and soul, Draymond Green, him getting so much older, being less effective, it's made him 10 times more wild on the basketball court. I mean, in less than 5 games this year, he's had numerous dirty plays, cheap shots, technicals, and everything in between. And the chokehold on Rudy Gobert was the icing on the cake. And when you combine that with Klay Thompson being a shell of himself, Andrew Wiggins, I don't even know where that guy's at, and Steph Curry being hurt, this Golden State dynasty, the version of the Big Four, is in their twilight years and dwindling fast. And adding someone like Chris Paul, yes, for the first 8 games, it looked fantastic. But in less than a week, this whole team has completely combusted. And in large part, is due to Ant Edwards of Minnesota absolutely snatching their souls. Do I think Steph Curry, when he comes back from injury, will still be highly effective? Of course I do. But from a championship perspective, this Golden State team as constituted isn't winning a championship this year, next year, or the year after that. So that right there is the end of the video. And once again, seeing Draymond get humbled like this in back-to-back games, I'm definitely here for it. And for the entire NBA, stop poking the bear that is Ant Edwards. As always, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.